Round 14 and the finale of the 2021 Formula 1 MyDriver season comes to Suzuka for the Japanese Grand Prix. And although they looked calm in interviews on Thursday, our three championship contenders will no doubt be feeling the pressure ramping up as we get closer to race day. Friday practice saw the two Ferraris and the Mercedes of Sebastian Vettel trade top times, with the five-time world champion looking very comfortable over one lap. Ferrari are confident they have the constructors' title in the bag, but Leclerc, who is 9 points adrift of the top, has it all to do if he wants to snatch the driver's title. The young Ferrari driver has said he doesn't mind all the focus being on aarava and Gasly ahead of this Grand Prix, and has stated he will just be trying to do everything he can to win the race. For the other contenders, however, this final battle at Suzuka has been building up for 4 years now. In 2018, when the two were teammates, it was only aarava that was left to be in a title fight with Vettel after the pair's controversial crash in Germany and subsequent poor form from the Frenchman. And this has left Gasly hungry for a second chance of redemption. As for aarava, he's watched his title challenges be dashed by just a few points for 3 straight years now since he left the Silver Arrows in 2017, and hopes he can finally become a triple world champion. The two Chevrolet-powered teams, meanwhile, Haas and Red Bull, look to have good race pace on the super soft tires, but both teams know it will be a very strategic battle for positions if Leclerc manages to keep ahead of them, unlike last round in Australia. Away from the title fight, Audi have surprisingly brought one final update to this race, with the paddock suggesting they are trialing new parts for 2022 in a bid to also try and leapfrog Jaguar in the constructors. And so, with that, a lot is at stake for a number of teams and drivers in this, the final race of the F1 MyDriver Season 7. The time has come now to see how the drivers will line up for the final race of the 2021 season, and once again, it is a Ferrari on pole, and once again, it's a Giovinazzi who snatches the coveted position at the front of the grid, a shocking 2/10 quicker than the Silver Arrow of Sebastian Vettel, who was also 2/10 quicker than the other Ferrari, and lead title contender for the start of this Japanese Grand Prix. Charles Leclerc will line up in third position alongside the lead Haas of Pascal Wehrlein. Another title contender and second of the Chevy-powered cars, Pierre Gasly, lines up on the third row of the grid alongside his teammate Nico Hülkenberg, who will likely be acting as rear gunner, as just behind them comes the third and final contender in the driver's title. P7 was the best aarava could manage on Saturday. He's joined by the recently upgraded Audi of Max Verstappen. It's a long way down from the front row of Vettel to the fifth row of Mick Schumacher, who is vocally disappointed with his lap. He can take some solace, at least, in starting ahead of an elated Daniel Ricciardo, who was just happy to feature in Q3. Row 6 is all disappointment, with Van Dorn starting best of the rest and narrowly quicker than the other Audi of Carlos Sainz, both drivers hoping for more in the race. Sophia Flörsch starts P13 for the Monster Rehab team and was less than 8/10 off pole position, but she'll have the other Jag of Ocon for company on row 7. The lead Renault for this race is, you guessed it, Jack Aitken, although he'll be starting down in P15, surprisingly joined on the 8th row by the other McLaren of Lando Norris, who will start ahead of 4 drivers today. One of those drivers is George Russell in the Monster Rehab, who is painfully half of a second slower than his teammate, but he'll start ahead of both BMW Williams cars, Perez completing the 9th row, and the other Renault of Bottas was more than a second and a half off pole, 1.6 seconds off for Fuoco.
Hey, what's going on, guys? Aarava here, and welcome back to my F1 MyDriver Career Mode, episode number 14 today for Season 7, the finale of the 2021 season here at the Japanese Grand Prix. If you did miss the last episode, be sure to go check that one out. And in fact, if you've missed any of the races in this season, then be sure to go back and search for them. This is how the season has panned out then over 14 rounds, all the stats from pole positions to the wins of each of those rounds. And if you have missed any of them, be sure to go check them out. There is an official playlist for the season, so you can quite easily navigate and check that all out. But especially if you did miss the last one at the Australian Grand Prix, the penultimate round. After that, and going into this finale then, I lead the way by 1 point over Pierre Gasly, my main rival from this season, 151 to 150. But Charles Leclerc is the third and final title contender there, 9 points back with 141 points then from Pierre Gasly, and he's an outsider, but he is in the faster car technically. The Ferrari has been probably overall the fastest car this season, but that has had so many niggles and issues and has kind of mimicked almost McLaren's real-life 2012 season in a way where they've just had so many reliability issues and they just haven't been able to get their act together. And it means that although they are looking comfortable for the Constructors' title, Leclerc's got his work cut out for him if he wants to try and take the Driver's title today away from Pierre Gasly or myself. And that is really the main focus and the main battle that I think will be brewing today. But of course, there is a very equally good chance that he can do this. So we're going to have to watch out for that. And as was said in the practice preview, it's going to be a very tactical race perhaps between myself and Gasly in terms of still keeping an eye and a tab on where that Ferrari is. But you can see the season has been such a competitive one. So many different winners. And it took till all the way till round number 9 to have our first repeat winner, which was myself actually at the Canadian Grand Prix in my first race for Haas after I switched over from Jaguar midway through this season. So uber competitive in qualifying and the races, and I'm sure this final one is going to be no different. So here we go, coming to the end of the formation lap then, and we're going to line up for the final time in 2021. It's me in the Haas, v Gasly in the Red Bull, v Leclerc in the Ferrari, but only one can take the title by the end of this race. Here we go then for the final time in Season 7 to 5 red lights for the Japanese Grand Prix. The lights are out and we're underway, and it's a great start there on the right hand side from Hülkenberg and Verstappen. Bit of a sluggish one from me, and we're going a little bit backwards as Giovinazzi off pole is still leading the way. Leclerc tries to go around the outside into turn 1 of Sebastian Vettel. We're trying to do the same on the Dutchman in the Audi and trying to maybe see if we can make an overtake move on Nico Hülkenberg as our teammate Wehrlein also battles the other Red Bull, my main rival Pierre Gasly, and we're going side by side with the German. We squeeze him out and he's going to fall behind Verstappen, so that's good for me. One less person to worry about because those Red Bull Chevrolet cars have had some great race pace in the past compared to their qualifying, and so we're now right behind Pierre Gasly. But at the moment Leclerc is in the driving seat. He's in 3rd place just behind Sebastian Vettel, who is behind the pole man Antonio Giovinazzi. So at the moment Leclerc will be getting 15 points of course, but with Gasly in P5, myself in P6 with 10 and 8 points respectively if the race was to end like this. You can just see the task and the mammoth of a task that Leclerc has today. He has to aim for the race win to surely try and have any chance of winning this title, and that's why I say, and that's why the paddock has been focusing on this fight between Gasly and myself. But it looks like Gasly has more things to worry about than fending me off. It looks like he's going to try and already maybe overtake my teammate there, so let's hope that Wehrlein can do me a solid and try and hold him up if he can as we go down towards 130R then on lap 1 still, and Gasly has made that move there down the inside, but Wehrlein comes back. It's a great move there from my teammate to fight back and into the last chicane. Then Wehrlein stays ahead, so that's exactly what I need. So thank you very much, Pascal. He's going to push Gasly off on the left, and now can I have a good run through the final corner then to maybe try and overtake my rival straight away on toward lap 2. It's going to be a 3-way scrap here. I'm on the outside, Gasly on the inside, and Wehrlein gets sandwiched there into turn 1. Who's going to blink first? It's Verstappen down the inside of Gasly as well, and so there was a 4-way fight there, and Verstappen is overtaking Gasly, and so Gasly's lost 2 positions instead of gaining 1, and so now I find myself right behind my teammate Wehrlein, and Verstappen has also done me a solid there. And as we mentioned in the practice programs, Audi have surprisingly brought upgrades for this final race, maybe trialing some parts for next season. So the Audi guys, I wouldn't be surprised if we see them coming through the field here. Obviously a really poor qualifying, especially for Sainz, but they look to have some great pace, and obviously in a straight line they've always been great. And so down this main straight towards 130R, the slipstream is so powerful, and unfortunately looks like, I'm going to get boxed in here with Wehrlein. I have to lift off, otherwise I'm just going to slam into the back of my teammate's gearbox there, and so I have to lift off, and Verstappen's now managed to go around the outside then into the first part of the chicane to the inside of the second. He's going to push us off to the curbing. We don't get the best of traction there, and we get uber close to his side pod bargeboard there, and actually a bit of contact made there with the Dutchman as we go side by side. Gasly now cheekily goes round the outside on the left, and he's going to try and go the long way around into turn 1. Doesn't work out to get Verstappen, but he does manage to overtake me, and so we're back down into P7 as Gasly's up into P6, and I find myself in a bit of a Red Bull Chevrolet sandwich at the moment, so not ideal there. Verstappen, first of all did help me out by overtaking Gasly, but then, fought me a bit too hard into turn 1, and that allowed Gasly to pull off a really awesome and cheeky move on the outside there. You can see the slipstream is looking to be very powerful here around Suzuka in 2021. But now we move on a little bit later into lap 3, and Verstappen is looking to waste no time at all. Then you can see getting right up the gearbox of Pascal Wehrlein there. He's going to pull to the inside, and even before they get to 130R, he's going to have the move already done and booked, and he's up into 4th place. Then meanwhile, through the final corner, then this is 3rd place Charles Leclerc trying to maybe make a move potentially on Sebastian Vettel. He's got got DRS, but that Mercedes car with the upgrades in the final 2 races just about has enough straight line speed, it looks like, although into turn 1. Will Vettel make a mistake? Yes, he has done, actually. And Vettel's now down to P3, so it didn't look like Leclerc had the speed, actually, the straight line speed to get Vettel, but then into turn 1 in the brake zone, looks like Sebastian just made a very uncharacteristic error and went very slow indeed into turn 1, and so now it's a 1-2 for Ferrari. This is interesting. Giovinazzi in first. Of course, he's not really in the title fight. Mathematically, he can't win today, but Leclerc obviously can, and so is there going to be a chance for Ferrari to deploy some team orders? I don't know. They don't seem like they're willing to do that, but we'll see. But as we move on to the very next lap, then at the end of lap 4, on towards lap 5, you can see all the top 4 are very close now. The 2 Ferraris are getting rather familiar with each other, with Leclerc now with DRS on Giovinazzi. Now, will there be a swap for the lead? Will Giovinazzi make it easy? No, it doesn't look like it. And Giovinazzi keeps the lead. And actually, there's a bit of a drift there. And as the rear end snaps out for the Italian, but he just stays ahead of Leclerc. Meanwhile, Verstappen right behind Sebastian Vettel. So the top 4 are so close. And this top 4 is going to be crucial for the championship fight, for Leclerc's sake, really, in terms of where he's going to end up here. Meanwhile, a bit further back down the road, then Wehrlein fighting off Gasly as best he can for P5. It's a bit of a futile effort, though, into 130R. Gasly already ahead before they enter the corner, but Wehrlein is going to come back at him immediately on the next lap, then down the main pit straight, then to turn 1 round the outside. Wehrlein will go in. It might be a fantastic move by the German in the Haas. Can he pull it around the outside? Come on, Wehrlein. He's going to try his best to help me out, but just doesn't quite do it there, and Gasly remains ahead. But good to see that at least Wehrlein, you know, we've put all our differences well and truly in the past from previous seasons when we were both teammates at Mercedes in seasons 2 and 3, and he's really trying to help me out. I mean, inadvertently maybe. I think he's just fighting as hard as he can, as all of us really are, for position, but he's trying his best at least to hold Gasly up, and he has done, because now by the time we get to lap 6, we're right behind him, and I can see Gasly and Wehrlein right in front of me again, and so we can try and make a move perhaps in the next lap or 2 as we go into the hairpin, closing up on Wehrlein's rear end. Actually, he's gone very slowly into the entry and exit of that hairpin, so now can we have a run as we go towards Spoon? It's going to be close, and Wehrlein doesn't give me so much room there, and so we put a tyre on the grass on the left hand side, down the inside though, the first part of the Spoon corners, and so on the second part then it's close. There's a bit of contact, maybe a carbon fibre shed potentially on this side pod, and now we'll go neck and neck, and obviously it's just Haas Chevrolet v Haas Chevrolet, so the fairest fight you're going to see this entire race, with Rich Mix going with side by side into 130 on. The closest of margins, and Wehrlein was the man to blink first there. Looks like lifted off just as we entered the apex there, and we're up the order. So looks like, you know, Wehrlein's definitely not going to give me the easiest time there, but fair and square fighting, and we're now up into P6, but don't speak too soon, but it's on to lap 7. Wehrlein, just like he did against Gasly, comes back with DRS. This time though, can he get it? Oh, looks like it. He cuts across, but we do a switchback move effectively, and we're going to get the place back there. So that was quite frosty actually, because Wehrlein did cut across me and go deep into turn 1, but clever enough to just wait a little bit, be patient, do the switchback line effectively into the second part of that first turn, and we're able to get the place back. Meanwhile then, for the lead of this Grand Prix, or second place I should say, is Sebastian Vettel in third place, and looks like he's going to try and re-overtake Leclerc if he can to try and get that second place back. Meanwhile in the background, Verstappen darts to the right, then to the left to try and make the move on Leclerc, tried to catch him napping in the inside of 130. I think some contact was made as Verstappen's rear end fishtailed a little bit, but he's managed to catch it there into the last chicane. So aggressive as ever from the Dutchman in the Audi, but now through the final corner, surely this is going to be a nice slingshot then for the Audi to get this, even with DRS open for the Ferrari. It's futile. It's a futile effort really. Look at that power of the Audi coming through with those upgrades. He's down the inside and he's got the move done on Charles Leclerc, so that will be good news for both myself and Gasly. Down with Leclerc down to P4 now, Verstappen P3, Vettel P2, maybe for not too long though, because we move straight away through Spoon on lap 8 now onto the back straight again, and Verstappen now may overtake Vettel to get second place, and Giovinazzi is just up the road. So from where Verstappen started on the grid, P8, he's doing a fabulous job at the moment. Down the inside, there he goes, and him and that car are just absolutely one together in this race so far. From P8 to P2 now in a matter of 8 laps. That's a fantastic drive so far from Max Verstappen. Meanwhile though, now we're chasing after Pierre Gasly after dispatching of our teammate, and on to the end of lap 8, on to lap 9. We're going to both continue on for one more lap, despite my tyres being a little bit worn and my team probably asking me to come in this lap. I still have enough pace to maybe try and overtake Gasly on this lap, and if I can do, I'd rather have track position over him. So here we go to the inside. It's close. Gasly on the outside, myself on the inside. Gasly going the long way around. He finds some traction there, and we lose the back end, and Gasly just about tucks in ahead of us then. And so that's meant we've had to be patient a little bit as we have a snap of oversteer onto the back straight of lap number 9 to maybe have a second chance to make this overtake just before we enter the pits. And I think Gasly is going to do the same. So this is for track position into the pit lane entry, side by side through 130R. We're on the inside there. We're going to switch it to the inside of the chicane because we were going to end up on the outside. Double lockup though, and it's a really poor mistake there because that is going to allow Gasly just to get ahead, and that is very annoying because I doubt we're going to be able to jump him in the pit stops. I mean, maybe we can do, and maybe that's just wishful thinking. I mean, if our pit crew want to do a sub 1 second pit stop, I think that might be possible, but I think the Red Bull crew are usually very well known for their pit stop speed. So here we go then, onto the soft tyres. Let's see what Gasly goes on. That'll also be another question we need to answer here. So it looks like he's also gone to soft, so not surprised actually. So myself and Gasly cover each other off in terms of the same lap we've hit, and also the same exact strategy, which will be super soft that we've already just ditched onto these soft tyres, and then onto another set of super softs at the end of this race for the last 10 to 9 laps there. So probably pitting around lap 17, lap 18 then. But now we're both going to have to contend with traffic, as are right now the 2 Ferraris and also the monster Mercedes car of Sebastian Vettel and the Audi of Max Verstappen, who goes down the inside of Leclerc there. As also you've got Giovinazzi trying to make the overtake on the Renault, who's being a bit of a blockade there at the moment. Vettel still hanging on to what is a net P2 there, so he's done well to keep ahead of Leclerc, and Leclerc's done well to keep ahead of Verstappen there. So Verstappen obviously has been jumped in the pit lane, so he's trying to get back into his P2 spot. So once again showing the Audi guys still haven't kind of rectified that issue they've had for many seasons now. Their pit stop times aren't amazing, and so Verstappen's lost 2 positions he got fair and square just in the pit stop phases, but you know, he's got the speed, so you would say he's going to be able to get those places back, and actually he might be on to try and get the race lead here, because the race leader, Giovinazzi, the net race leader, is getting caught behind the Renault, so much so that now Vettel has gone down the inside, and it's going to be Vettel into the net lead, and Verstappen down the inside of the Ferrari and the Renault there. It's so close between the Audi and the Renault of Jack Aitken. He's being a real blockade here, a mobile chicane as it were, and Verstappen does get that, and so it's a net P1 for Sebastian Vettel, the 5-time world champion. It's a net P2 then for Verstappen, and so the Ferraris will find themselves in P3 and P4 once all those cars that are yet to pit come in. And speaking of cars that are yet to pit, Sophia Flores is one of them right ahead of Pierre Gasly. So now can we try and navigate it as well as Gasly here? Gasly down the inside of 130R, that may put off the young German as we enter the apex. Then it is going to put her off, and we're going to go down the inside, and we're up into P11 then. We're not going to make a dive bomb to the chicane though, going to keep this nice and patient through the final chicane. We're going to have DRS on Gasly, and as the Renault, thankfully, there comes the pit lane, so there's not going to be any aid for Gasly in terms of any slipstream, any car ahead of him to help the slipstream. So now here we go then to the outside with DRS wide open into turn 1 of lap 12, and we're up into P9. The next car up there with a bit of a gap there ahead of us is Charles Leclerc. So actually we find ourselves in a very good position. I mean, both myself and Gasly, but obviously for the sake of the championship, it's good that at the moment we are ahead of Pierre. But we move on to the end of that lap, and obviously so far you've clearly seen the slipstream has been so powerful down this straight, and so Gasly is down our inside here. We're going to have to go on the outside of 130R, lift off a little bit to give him the room, and we're just about making it within the track limits there, right tight on the grass a little bit into the final chicane, then trying to go as deep as we can to squeeze Gasly. Doesn't quite work out, and we kind of open up the steering wheel to straighten up the car faster, and once again through the last bend trying to get a slingshot effect to go down this main pit straight to overtake him once again, this time on the inside of turn 1, and things are going to get a little bit closer for comfort on the inside there as Gasly's going to squeeze us into the apex. He's going the long way around, and he's got the grip, and we're going to come back at him in the second phase of the exit of turn 1 into the S section, then lifting off and just trying to coast the car through some contacts made, and we just about wrestle the car into a straight line to not spin this thing out, but ultimately Gasly does have it ahead and a hit with a wash of dirty air then as we climb the hill, and I just don't have the downforce then to keep up with him right on his gearbox there, and so we fall a little bit back, and we have to wait probably till this next back straight. And speaking of the back straight then, further up the road then on that 13, Verstappen now down the inside to make a double overtake on not only the Mercedes car of Sebastian Vettel, but also that McLaren Honda that's still yet to come in from its first set of tyres. I think Lando Norris that was, And so Verstappen is into the race lead, or the effective race lead, because I still think there are a couple of people yet to come in ahead of him. But we go now around the outside of 130R, a little bit on the green stuff there, but it's so close on the edge of grip. Lock up on the front right tire. Such a big, bold move there around the outside of Gasly, because we're forced onto the grass momentarily by the Frenchman there. But now we've made it, and look at that. Thankfully, Pascal Wehrlein, like an absolute god, has come in as well to overtake Gasly. He's going to help me out now. If he can continue to fight Pierre into turn 1, lap 14, this will really do me a solid to try and get away from him. But Gasly finds the grip on the inside of turn 1. He'll fight as hard as he can. Ultimately, though, thankfully, Wehrlein does keep ahead, and so that's a bit of a buffer to Gasly. And now ahead, though, we go back into our onboard. You can see Carlos Sainz has come out, and he's just made his first pit stop, and he's come out ahead of us. So just showing the Audis have some absolutely amazing pace now, race pace at least, around Suzuka. And so Sainz now is legitimately ahead of me. He's going to make one more pit stop. I'm going to make one more pit stop. And so, I think the two Audis may be on for a very good race result, and that might just, be a spanner in the works for the title fight, because it's going to mean people like this Charles Leclerc are going to have to not only try and come back and, fight back at Giovinazzi and Vettel, but also the two Audis, because Vettel at the moment is down in P2, and this man, Max Verstappen, is the one that leads the Japanese Grand Prix. But speaking about Carlos Sainz being ahead of us, we may have an opportunity to actually overtake him, because you can see, surprise, surprise, Jack Aitken there once again being a bit of a blockade to another car in this Grand Prix. And so as we go down the back straight towards 130R, Sainz pulled to the left to try and make the move on the Renault, but we're going to pull to the right with double slipstream there, and we're going to make a double overtake around the outside of 130R, and we're up into P5 then. And so that's a really, really important move for us. We've got some clean air to try and chase after Leclerc potentially, but it is not over there, because you can see clearly through the last corner then, Sainz though, you can see the traction, the power he has is ridiculous, and now he pulled through on the right hand side, DRS wide open, and he's literally clearing away and back past us there. So for a moment I thought I could have had Sainz, and it was looking good, but alas, now with the clean air in front of him, he's able to do that. But look at that now, Gasly down the inside of Pascal Wehrlein on lap 15 through the S section, then Gasly fighting on. Of course, this is a crucial overtake for the Frenchman. He has to get past Pascal Wehrlein to have any chance of fighting me then at the end of this race to try and overtake me for the championship. And so round the outside, up the hill, it's going to be a beautiful move for Gasly there. 4 hard side by side through that entire sector, which is hard enough, but to have the grip and the downforce and the confidence to make a move around the outside up the hill there, and not to lift off too much with the gravel trap just there on the outside. Great stuff there, and he's got a lot of fight in him left. We've got 12 laps to go. It's not over yet. There's plenty of laps in it for Gasly to close up. Having said that though, on the back straight of lap 15, Wehrlein, he's going to come back at Gasly. So after being overtaken in quite a dramatic fashion in sector 1, at the end of sector 3, Wehrlein down the inside of 130R. Gasly tries his best to defend to the inside there, but Wehrlein is really putting up a good fight, and through the final few corners then of the lap, Wehrlein does nip ahead, and Gasly's going to have to do it all over again. So once again, my teammate is definitely trying his best, unintentionally or intentionally, trying to help me out in this Grand Prix. Meanwhile, now we've got Sainz finally on the back, and it's a straight drag race between him and Leclerc, and the Audi is always going to win that one into the inside of 130R, and he's up into P4, and Leclerc is down to P5 now. So with 11 laps to go, it's really going the opposite direction that Leclerc needs it to, and slowly but surely I think his title chances are slipping away here, but they're still very much alive for myself and Pierre Gasly. But for now, I'm fighting my teammate rather than him, as now Wehrlein on a charge here on the next lap now, trying to overtake me again. He tries to move around the outside of 130 like he tried it on me before, and again he has to lift off into the apex there. But you can see now he's closed up, and Gasly have closed up quite dramatically there, so both of them really on it like a car bonnet here. And so now we may be attacked by both of them. Wehrlein on the left hand side, Gasly on the right. It's going to be 3 wide into turn 1 again between the 3 of us there. I'm on the inside. That's not a great place to be. We lift off a little bit, and we just about managed to survive that corner and managed to keep ahead of our teammate. But unfortunately, Gasly used that fight to his advantage to nip it to the inside. But speaking of the inside, we'll get down the inside of him into the spoon section then on lap 17, as now the sun is starting to peek out again. It was overcast for a few laps, so there was a little bit of a worry for myself that it might have started to rain here in a dramatic fashion in the finale. But no, it looks like the sun's going to start to come out, but it's all rather close now between myself and Gasly. A little bit of contact made into the inside inside of 130R. Gasly just ahead there by just a hair of my nose, and we brake a little bit early to keep the composure into the chicane. We know we're going to have DRS here, so, there's no point trying to make a dramatic dive on the outside of the chicane where we get easily squeezed off there, so we'll just wait for the DRS to open now here on the pit straight, down the inside onto lap 18, into turn 1, and hopefully this will be an easy pass up into now what will be P5, with Verstappen having pits from the lead of this Grand Prix already for his second and final pit stop, as well as my teammate there you saw as we entered this lap then, so we'll see how the undercut works. Meanwhile, still out ahead on track is Carlos Sainz, then closing up to Antonio Giovinazzi, and just ahead you can see peering off your screen with Sebastian Vettel, but it looks like Giovinazzi does not have the pace anymore to keep up with the German, the monster Mercedes car, and now he's got the Spaniard right up his chuff there, his former teammate from the Toro Rosso days before they became Jaguar Racing. And so here comes Sainz now again, straight drag race for the Audi v Ferrari, and that is always going to be in Audi's ballpark there. And so with 9 laps to go in this Grand Prix, Sainz puts himself into the figurehead for a podium position potentially, because he is in P3 or net P3, because you would assume Verstappen will still remain in the lead of this Grand Prix. Vettel in second place, and I don't know, I think with the pace that Sainz has got, he could be knocking on the door for a 1-2 for Audi, which would be quite something in the final race of this season. But now we cut back to our fight then, and we're still fighting with Pierre Gasly. He's on the outside of 130R. He's got that slipstream, and we try and push him and squeeze him off there. We go defensive to the inside because we're going to come in at the end of this lap for our pit stop there. So doing what and making up for what I couldn't do in the first set of pit stops, and staying ahead of him and being the first to enter the pit lane there. And actually, Gasly continues on for one more lap then. So interesting. Gasly stretching his soft tyres, opting for 1 lap fresher super softs obviously by the end of this race, whereas I'm going a little bit early because we saw in the first stint, I think the undercut was pretty good around here. So I think my teammate Verline may actually have me. There he is down the main straight on the right hand side, you could see. So I think he's going to get us here. So the undercut's quite powerful. So I think that's why I've come in, and you can see Verline I think has got ahead of us then. And so yeah, there he is. He's just gone round and he's trying to fight Sophia Flores then ahead of us in the Monster Rehab car. So he's ahead of us in P12. We're in P13. Obviously, a lot of people yet to make their final pit stops then. A lot of them on soft tyres like I was. But Verline on the soft tyres, I'm on super softs, and Gasly will be on the super softs. So that should hopefully mean that me and Gasly, or at least me, I can easily dispatch him. But actually, speaking about dispatching people, look at that flourish with a big mistake there onto the gravel for her on the right hand side. And so we're able to get up into P12. And actually, I think she's got major issues in the car, because she's spun off into the gravel and now reverses quite dangerously actually onto the other part of the circuit there. But yeah, I mean, her race going from bad to worse then, and caps off a pretty miserable season for the Monster Rehab cars. Obviously just not able to keep up with the budgetary requirements of the very aerodynamic dependent season we've had this year in MyDriver. But now we move on now onto the back end of lap 19. Verline down the inside of Lando Norris then in the McLaren Honda, and hopefully for our sake can be an equally easy overtake on the young Brit there. But Verline still having to do some work into the chicane then on the left hand side, as Lando Norris puts up a fight into the first part of the chicane, but on the second part Verline does have ultimately the better downforce, as you would expect. McLaren have been struggling all season long with their chassis, and here we come now, and we're going to have no DRS actually, surprisingly, just pure slipstream there. Honda v Chevrolet power, and we know how many upgrades the Chevrolet guys have been doing this season especially. And down the inside then Easy's does it, and a little bit wayward, a little bit wide and deep, but no drama there. And we're up into P10 now we can try and get on the back of Pascal Verline and hopefully use him as a bit of a tow to then get and kind of confirm we're definitely getting ahead of Pierre Gasly. But we move through into lap 21, and Verline's getting ahead by quite some way, but it doesn't matter. You can see there on the right hand side Pierre Gasly comes out behind us, and the undercut has worked out there, and so we're up into P9. But the question is for how long really, because as I am catching Pascal Verline, Gasly is equally probably catching me at a faster rate. So with 5 laps to go, obviously me and Gasly are on the same softer compounded tyres, so both of us should be closing on Verline, but the rate he's catching me, as I said, is faster. So it's going to be a case of if I can get close enough to Verline to get that DRS on the main straight, or really just the slipstream down towards 130R, because I think Gasly's going to have a pretty damn good run through this next left-hander as we go off spoon towards 130R. You can see Rich Mix going, but he's got this slipstream there that he had before as Carlos Sainz at the fast lap of the Grand Prix. Gasly down the inside, we go around the outside of him in 130R to try and keep ahead. We do so in P8. We lock up on the front right tyre, but no major dramas there. We're able to keep ahead for now, and we're going to have DRS off Verline though, so we are within 1 second, but will that be enough? Because even with DRS,
Gasly has DRS himself, and he's faster in a straight line down the pit straight to the inside of turn 1. We're on the outside going the long way around. Have to try and squirt the throttle as early as we can. Gasly gets a major bit of traction, and so we're going to have to fight him side by side through the S section once again in Sector 1. This time we're on the other side of the circuits at the time we were before. Can we try and pull this through again, getting hit with some dirty air? And as we climb the hill, just don't have the grip, as that hot, dirty air coming off the back of his car is making our car unable to stick as much as we'd like up the hill then. So we're going to have to wait until lap 23 then. Again, in that crucial area of the slipstream, down towards 130R, down the inside will go of Gasly there. And this time it's a little bit of an easy affair as he lifts off, entering the apex, and we're up into P8 then. And we can see Wehrlein just up ahead, so hopefully we can try and get within DRS then and help him pull us along. Ahead of Wehrlein then is this man, Espen Ocon, on the medium tyres. He's trying a very audacious one-stop on the mediums, and looks like that might work out for him. Ahead of him is Charles Leclerc, so confirmation really that unfortunately for the young guy in the Ferrari, I think his title hopes are pretty much over with only 3 laps to go. But the fight between myself and Gasly is still very much on, because we've got plenty of laps, and Gasly, as you can see, is right up my gearbox. I'm up Wehrlein's gearbox as well, so all 3 of us are really bunched up, but this is going to be quite a tight domino effect, and I'm going to have to really hope that Wehrlein can help me out here. I need him to help me out. I don't know how much that's going to be possible, because earlier on in the race you saw he was not afraid of fighting me. So as we go through the spoon section then and onto the back straight then towards 130R for another time, can we get enough slipstream here to try and stay ahead of Gasly, maybe overtake Wehrlein into 130R? We're going to go to the left hand side of Wehrlein then. We'll be side by side, and is he going to give us the room? No, he fights back, and he's still there on the right hand side, and that's Pascal Wehrlein not giving up the place, and he's not going to help me out as much as I think, and he's actually going to block us off into the apex of the final corner in the chicane there. And so now we're going to be susceptible to an attack by Pierre Gasly. We're going to have to try and get the DRS open slipstream, and we do get enough to maybe send this round the outside, but again Wehrlein fights us hard. We're going to have to try our hardest though to hang this round the outside, but it's just not possible. And so in the dying stages of this race, the nerves are starting to creep in, because Wehrlein's pretty much being a bottleneck here for myself and Gasly. He's just pushing me back into Pierre as we go into the hairpin then of the next lap 25. Wehrlein with a big lock up, and that's going to be crucial. That might be the point. Here we go. Can we take advantage of this moment there? Wehrlein will slow out the hairpin and towards Spoon. He's got the speed again on the left hand side. He's not giving us too much room, and it's very close between my front wing and his rear left tyre. Well, we're down the inside of the Spoon section here, and we just can't make enough, get enough traction on the front end. The front end won't bite in, but on the exit then, a little bit of slap of oversteer, but here we go then. We'll be neck and neck, but look at that. Pierre Gasly on the right hand side. Gasly's going to go around the outside of both of us, and on the outside of 130R, he's come out of nowhere actually. Double slipstream on both us has Chevrolet cars. Late break into the chicane, and he's come out of nowhere to attack us now to try and get the P7 I was trying to get, and he's up into P7, down into P8. We've got the DRS though, he does not, so that's crucial. We've got DRS, he does not. We're opening up the rich mix. We'll try and cover off Wehrlein quite aggressively, because he's not helping us out anymore, and we go round the outside then of turn 1, and we have another go at overtaking Pierre Gasly and trying to stay ahead of him in this Grand Prix, but he finds the traction. But on the exit, we've got enough space there on the left hand side, so we'll dive it there as we enter the S section. Then side by side contact made on the right hand side. The hand of anger is up in the cockpit there, but we're not giving up this fight. But Gasly crucially is going to be on that better racing line, but up the hill Gasly goes a little bit wide there, lifts off, and we have a chance now on the left hand side. It's oh so close to the grass as well, but into Degner 1, gonna have to lift off because Gasly has the inside line. That was going to be a crash if I hadn't lift off, so I'd rather both of us not go out this race and hand this championship to Leclerc, keep us both in this, and I know that I can try and get him on the back straight. Remember, we're behind him here, so we will have the slipstream advantage. So even in the dying stages with 1 and a bit laps to go in this race, you know, I could chuck it all away and just dive down the inside there and try and push him off at Degner 1. Thought a bit tactically here. We're going to play this smart and wait for the better opportunity to overtake him in air through the spoon curves again, and just like we did with Wehrlein, trying to keep our nose in on the inside to put him off a little bit so he just can't get the traction down. And then here we go in the slipstream, pull to the right hand side. It's so close, and Gasly does not give us enough room there. And could we make a move out to the inside now? So we've had to try the right, didn't work out. Now to the left, and we are side by side through the apex of 130R, and he's literally millimeters away from making contact with me into the brake zone there, and we're still going neck and neck through the chicane. He's got the better traction, but we have the DRS and rich mix this time. We have the much better run right up his gearbox, then move to our hand side and across the line onto the last lap of the Grand Prix.
This is it. 3 years in the making here from 2018 to 2021 now. 3 seasons have gone. This is the 4th time of asking, can I become a triple world champion? And look at this. Pascal Wehrlein is actually doing me a solid. He's fought Gasly very hard into the S section, and Gasly has lost some time, but you can see then through the next few corners, Gasly has so much pace in this race. He's been saving his tyres. He's probably turned up the wick completely. I have as well up into Rich Mix, and he's pushing for his life, of course, to try and get his first ever world championship in Formula 1. And so we go on towards the middle part of the circuit into the hairpin. Nice and easy under braking. Don't want to lock up. Meanwhile, though, this is Charles Leclerc going through the spoon curve down towards 130R. But up ahead, it's going to be Max Verstappen that will take his 8th win of his career for the Japanese Grand Prix win here in 2021. The 2019 world champion wins the Grand Prix, but pretty much solidifies Charles Leclerc is not going to be winning the championship. But could it be Gasly or could it be me? Because here we go into 130. It's a final chance for Gasly. We've hanged it around the outside and we're going to ride that curb like a skateboard right to the end of the race through the chicane. Nice and easy. Take a deep breath and we go through the final corner and we are going to hold out, and this is going to be our 3rd world championship in Formula 1 at the 4th time of asking ever since we left the Silver Arrows back in 2017. We are beaten by Sebastian Vettel, beaten by Max Verstappen, beaten by Carlos Sainz, but we go head to head with our old nemesis Pierre Gasly, and we have come out on top by the skin of our teeth to become the 2021 Drivers' World Championship. And I'm literally losing my voice here. You might have heard that for the second half of that race. God damn it, this commentary has literally killed my voice. But what a race and what a finale. Yeah, 4 years in the making there, and what a battle. That was really nice. You know, it ended badly in the past in 2018 with Gasly, but I'm glad we had a fair but tough fight there with Pierre, and there you go. There are the results, but Charles Leclerc does not get enough. He needed to win the race, at minimum on the podium, but he couldn't even do that. The 2 Audis came up clutch for a 1-2, a very surprising 1-2, and that might actually help them out in the Constructors' Championship. But there you go, confirmation, the Drivers' Championship standings there. We have won the Drivers' World Championship by the finest of margins, ahead of Pierre Gasly there. But Leclerc, 3rd place, you know, he fought as hard as he could, but oh my god, we've actually finally done it. The 3rd World Championship. And just take a moment, guys, maybe pause the video, look through the entire standings there. You might be interested in seeing how that all panned out. We also have the second half of the table as well, if you guys are interested in that as well. I do keep record of that for the entirety of the season. So there's the second half of the standings. But the more important thing there, away from the Drivers' Championship, is then the Constructors. Fair play, Scuderia Ferrari, for the first time in F1 MyDriver in its entire 7-season span so far, have won the Constructors now. Obviously, it's been a long time for them, even if you take into account the real-life Grand Prix stats as well. It's been a long while since Scuderia Ferrari have won the Constructors there, so fair play. You know, they've pretty much had, like I said earlier, very early on in the episode, they've had a McLaren 2012 S season where they've clearly been the fastest car overall, but they've had so many issues. But both of them, Antonio Giovinazzi and Leclerc, as a pair, very strong in the championship, and they've come through to win it, and fair play. But unfortunately for us, you know, I tried to help Haas as much as I could, but Audi with that 1-2, they've done so well there that they've not only leapfrogged Jaguar, they've also leapfrogged us at Haas. From 5th to 3rd place they've gone, and now they are just 3 points behind Red Bull. So actually, if they had just that tiny bit of more luck, you know, here and there, and won the races before, they could have still been 2nd place, and that wouldn't have been a quite bad showing, considering how much bad luck they've had from falling away in races, just general DNFs and issues for both Verstappen and Carlos Sainz, obviously the reigning world champion from last season there. So unfortunate there, but you know, I still think we did Haas proud there to be in 4th place. Obviously, it was a harsh comparison to Red Bull. Obviously, they're known for a really good chassis and obviously the same engine in the back of the car. It was always going to be quite a harsh comparison, but happy that I was able to help my new team to get ahead of my old team. Jaguar obviously ended with a little bit of bitter blood between myself and Jaguar, the way they ended, and obviously you saw today, you know, they just didn't have the pace and the reliability as well, as I think one of them went out of the Grand Prix. I think it was Van Dorn that actually DNF'd out of this race, with Ocon only left in the points. So it just shows, for me personally, I made the correct decision to leave that team, and it's ended up in a 3rd Drivers' World Championship finally. But Wow, what a race, and what a way to end what has been such a competitive season. Obviously, I said at the start, 8 different winners in the first 8 races. It took till round 9 to get a repeat winner, which was myself. So maybe that was fate that I was the first repeat winner in this season. But this is how then the MyDriver universe stacks up. If you're unfamiliar, obviously it's been 3 years now. This series has been going on for 3 years, which was quite a long time for YouTube terms, for one single season. So you may have easily missed some of the previous seasons. So here are the full stats in terms of who won the championship, who won the constructors in which season. And be sure, if you're curious, I recommend you go and check those seasons out and see for yourself what happened. All the seasons pretty much all equally awesome in terms of action. But yeah, guys, this is it then, the end of season 7. If you guys have enjoyed this race but also this entire season, be sure to smash the like button. Guys, can we try and aim for something like 2,000 likes? That'd be absolutely awesome from you guys. We could try and get that. Let me know what you thought in the comments below of not only this race but this season as a whole. If you are new around here, do get subscribed for weekly Formula 1 content. No matter what content I do, this sort of highly edited content, a lot of time put in, countless hours to make the mods, I have to mod the AI every single race to make sure so that they work, as the game, it can easily break every single race because the mods don't work easily at every single race. It's not a case of making it once and then it works for the entire season. Every single race I have to spend a couple of hours to make sure everything's fine and working and not breaking the game. It's something that I enjoy and take pride in putting. And no matter what other series maybe does better than MyDriver, I will always have the softest spot for this series, and I'll be proudest of this series in particular, just because of all of that, and also the love you guys show. Those of you that do watch the series, the love is really strong, and the strongest I've ever seen it on any kind of series or episodes I've ever done on the channel. So thank you very much, guys, for that. But that has been it, the end of season 7 of F1 MyDriver, the Japanese Grand Prix. We are finally a triple world champion, and we have beaten Pierre Gasly and Charles Leclerc to the 2021 championship. I've been aarava. I hope you enjoy the rest of your day, and I will see you guys next time.
Eyes in the sky, gazing far into the night. I raise my hand to the fire, but it's no use, 'cause you can't stop it from shining through. It's true, baby, let the light shine through. If you believe it's true, baby, won't you let the light